Thank you. Again, I'll just introduce my session. So it's going to be getting started on Android UI using Android UI Design Hub. And then I'll go straight in to introduce myself. My name is Hannah. I'm a mom. That's my son. He's turning 5 in 3 weeks. And I'm also a Google developer expert. So just why I added that logo there. So a Google developer expert for Android. I got this title 2 years now. And yeah, it's been a great experience and enjoying all the learnings, all the networking opportunities that I get through it. And so some of the things I enjoy to do is giving talks, for example. I write technical articles as well. and and then because also I've transitioned into engineering management, I write also now a lot more on the soft skills uh, kind of topics, like, for example, what I wrote about recently, how to write your abstract, how to get better at standing out when you apply for CFP. So, yeah, that's a bit about me. And when I'm not coding, I enjoy to cook. I like trying out baking recipes that I find. And yeah, that's a bit about me. So let's get started for the agenda today. So I'll take you through a few definitions because I also want to assume some of the people listening in are either beginner level or just getting introduced to Android. So I wouldn't want them to feel lost in this. So I'll go through some definitions, then a few guidelines and why they're important. So how to implement it and why they really are being endorsed for us Android developers. And then I'll share a few links to the resources that I used for preparing for this. And then my favorite part, the question and answer session. So yeah, first off, what is Android Design Hub? So for those who are totally new to this and have not been introduced to Android before, or maybe have heard about it and are wondering why, the basic definition is just it's a hub, a resource with a lot of advice that have been given by Google Android developers who want us as Android developers to create more visually and friendly user interfaces for our apps. So they have aligned all this together in one repository for us to have access to, and think of it in terms of having like the Figma starter kits that would be essential when you're working on a mobile app or a TV app. And then in those same starter kits, they have UI samples that you can use if you want to have like a visual representation of what you might be looking at. And then they have also a whole list of galleries that you can use. And all this is open source once again. So it's really nice that Google has provided this for us, Android developers. Then I mentioned about the Figma starter kits, and right there you'll end up interacting with material design. So why I bring this up as a definition again? It's just also for people who are being introduced to this as the first time. I remember for me being an Android developer and not being really good on the UI bit of it. So this was really helpful having material design being introduced to us. So material design, again, another open source that promotes user interfaces that will work across with developers, designers, and then help you to produce really good, nice end products for the users. So material design, again, also has started off, I can give you a short snippet. It started off in 2014 when it was first introduced by Google. That's material one, but yeah, we don't really say material one. And in that in that phase, they were trying to just have some set of guidelines for Android developers to have like a standard way of how to design their UIs. Then this was later improved to Material 2, which has been in the market longer at from 2018. And a lot of it got a lot of traction. A lot of people have been using it right now. And I think one thing I always, whenever I think of Material 2, I remember the rounded edges on the buttons, because this was a really nice way to just change basic rectangular buttons to have the rounded effect. So that was really cool for that to be introduced. And then a lot of it also based on color coordinating, having palettes that work seamlessly across your app. I think this was introduced in Material 2, so it was really cool to explore that. Then we have Material 3, which was introduced in 2021. And yeah, this is where we are right now. Google hasn't released anything new yet, but Material 3 is also called Material U. And I think for those who have explored it, you're really having a lot of fun with this, because I also do. And I especially love that they also want to customize, they allow you to customize your app to a way where the user, let's say, for example, when the user has their theme set up on their mobile device, the app that they install also gets to borrow the same kind of thing. And that's really cool. So again, in material design, we have a whole list of topics that would be of interest. And again, my session was only 30 minutes, and I didn't want to go into depth about going through all the items, but this is something you can look up. The documentation has it really listed well. I'll pick navigation for this particular session, but like if you look at the various topics in the list, those are things that I mentioned about, like for example, color and having specific palettes that are introduced to us in material design. When you talk about, let me start from the top, from environment, from foundation, environment layout, that's all about how to arrange your different views on the app. Typography is about the fonts, the font style that you use, making it sort of seamless across your app, just not just throwing any font around. And for sound is really important, especially for when you're thinking about in terms of accessibility, or when you want to interact with the user and give alerts, for example. Iconography, just for your look and feel again for the app. Shape and motion also go well in hand in terms of how you communicate certain interactions again with the user within the app when they are going through different screens. Sorry, interaction is all about gestures, like when they tap on a button, or I remember the ripple effect that was introduced in one of the libraries. I remember using that. When a user taps on a button, there's a ripple effect that was really cool. Communication, again, just in terms of alerts. And the new big thing, machine learning, how to predict what the user will click on next and things like that. So again, I will just focus on navigation for this session because of time. And then the other definition I was going to talk about was the design tools. And here I'll be big on Figma. Figma was introduced to me as well, like way later within my Android developer journey. And yeah, it's really interesting to see how it has grown over the years, and how it's a collaborative tool now between mobile developers, UI designers, and even people in the product team. So I'm really excited about introducing this tool for those who've not used it before. And also just to let you know that you can now export code from Figma directly to Android Studio. I'll show you an example of how that works. So in Figma, we talk about Wear OS Figma Kit that is provided by Android Design Hub, Android UI Design Hub. Then we also have the Android Mobile Figma Kit that is ready available, and then the TV Figma Kit. So for this session, again, I'll just pick the Android Mobile Figma Kit to focus on. And I'll touch a bit about the TV, but yeah, for today's session, I'll focus on the Android Mobile. So here's a screenshot for how Figma looks like, just in case someone here in the talk hasn't seen it before. And on this page, you see how the layout of the screens would be. For example, if you go to a sample page on mobile. So on the left-hand side, you find the layers that would be introduced to you, and the different components that are available for you to either export or look further into. So for example, if your UI designer has presented you this page to now to convert to your Android code, here's where you'll go and check on the margin size, the padding size, and all that, so that you translate that to your actual code. And then on the right hand side, you have the design and prototype tabs that also give you more further details on how to arrange your components within a screen. And yeah, this is really important because if you're trying to make your app quite uniform and cutting across different devices, it's really important. It's important to pay attention to the side of the screen as well. And what Figma allows you to do is also to keep zooming in, either out or in, to see the whole layout of what you need to have as the end result, and also to see the finer details of what you need to focus on as you're exporting the components. And then in this other screen that is now more relevant to us, that I found this tool, this plugin called App Speed, that can allow you to convert your Figma code to Android. There are very many plugins right now that have been introduced. And why this one was really important for the session today is because I saw that you can be able to allow your design system that you can be able to select what design system you prefer to use. So a lot of people would ask, oh, we're still using Material 2. What happens if we don't have this in Material 3 available? So this allows you, we have put an arrow, it allows you to check what design version you'd like to have, either 2 or 3. And then now you're able to generate your code based on what you select, and then as easy as copying all that context. And then as you see, the best part about it is also it's on Jetpack Compose. So you just copy all that code and then paste it on Android Studio. Of course, you'll have to do modifications here and there, but like it was really cool for me to see that this has been made readily available. So for example, if someone just wants to be able to easily, quickly see how the code would look on their Android device, there's this option that will shorten the whole time for them to code. So let's go to the recommended guidelines that are highlighted heavily on Android UI Design Hub. So there's a big emphasis on having different guidelines for the mobile devices and also for the large screens. And I'll explain why in the next few slides, but it's really important to also remember that when you're thinking about multi-devices, different kind of devices, the screen size really matters because some devices are either fold, some devices are either flip phones, fold or flip. And so this is really important to pay attention to as you're looking at the guidelines that have been provided on Android UI Design Hub. So I mentioned that I'll pick navigation for this session because of time. So here's an example of navigation for the navigation bar on a mobile device. So here I have two different screenshots that I borrowed from the documentation. The one on the right, the material design tool, was, as I mentioned, they were big on having color palettes that were seamless within the app that would allow you to choose a different color for your accent buttons or your status buttons, and then different buttons on the different colors on the status bar or navigation bar, for example, in this case. And then now when you see how this progressed to Material Design 3, you see that now the icons have more interaction in terms of like now there's a background on the one that is highlighted rather than just a different shape. There's a shadow behind it. It's more either elevated. You can choose to have it rounded. So there's more customization allowed now in Material Design 3. So how does this look on a device? This is another screenshot I borrowed from the documentation that for the navigation bar on mobile, this is how the end product would look like, where the icon being selected is either with a background and it's either elevated or has a different kind of feel from the other icons. Then for a large screen, what would we have? We got introduced to Navrail, where this is also, so Navrail can still be used on mobile devices, but why Navrail was introduced to us was because it was now more friendly with large screens. Let me show you an example. So before, in the previous screen, we had the navigation bar that was just going horizontally across the screen. But now we have a large screen, and if you want the same effect, this is how it will look, which is, as you can see, highlighted in this screenshot. I borrowed this from one of the talks on Android Summit last year that was really well done. I shared a link about this if someone wants to dig deeper. So like, there's only a few users who can be able to either stretch that far. You can imagine if someone is either lying down or commuting or if they're trying to use one hand to navigate through the different icons, not many users would find this friendly. And now we get introduced to Navrail that allows you to have the whole navigation component either on the side of the screen, which is more accessible. So like if this was already on the mobile device, this is automatically translated to a large screen. And yeah, that's the navigation bit, sort of in summary. So when I do a recap of what why I'm making noise about Android UI design, we had to build UIs before using before Jetpack Compose using XML and this different kinds of layout. So of course, this is a screenshot from Android Studio on how before we'd have the design layout, we'd have to either drag and drop text views, we'd have to set our relative layout first, and yeah, a lot of work was involved from the developer before you'd see your end product of the UI that you're building. But now with Android UI Design Hub, we have an app, for example, called Relay, and plugin, called Relay that you can already install within Android Studio. And when you install it, you have all the steps. It guides you. You get all the guidelines on how to make it work seamlessly with your Figma account. So I tried this, and this was really nice, really straightforward, easy to use. And then when you go to your Material 3 design kit, for example, and on now on Android, which is readily available for us Android developers, like you can easily set up your your plugin to interact with Figma. So let me show you an example. And yeah, I was hoping to have done this on a demo, but yeah, again, because of time. So when you go on Android Studio, you have this page with the file. So when you go to file, then now you go to import UI packages. So in this case, I've already installed the Relay plugin on my Android Studio. So when you say import UI packages, you then quickly say, you now quickly put in the settings that you are requested for from Figma. And then when you go on Figma, use an example of the app, the plugin that I showed you that allows you to copy from the clipboard. And then, yeah, you're able to just transfer that to Android Studio, for example. This is an example of something I was using as I was preparing for this talk, and it was really easy to see. So this is my navigation bar, bottom bar for the navigation bar. I was trying it out to just see how it would look on a small screen, and then now try it on a TV, large screen surface. So, and it was really easy. I didn't take days compared to what would have happened a few years back or a few weeks back. So yeah, that's a wrap up of my talk. I wanted to leave more room for questions. And here are some of the resources that I used for this talk, and even, yes, this would be really available to you, accessible. So you can either take a screenshot, or I think we could share the slides. I would share my slides for sure on my X account. Yeah. So you can follow me, reach out to me on hello@hannaholukoye.com. I'd be happy to help. I'd be happy to support you where I can. And let's keep building together. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannah. I'm outside, so please tell me if there's wind hitting my microphone. I can't tell. Um, but yeah, thank you for a lovely talk.
Yeah.
Feel like it's a highly relevant area for definitely new engineers, but also engineers who are in kind of in organizations where they don't use a modern tool set. And I feel like it's important to promote modern tool sets so that people are using what so many engineers have put a lot of effort into making possible. Like
Yeah,
Figma
for sure.
and the features it provides are very, very, very impactful, and a lot of effort's gone into it.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you. Um,
Yeah.
Folks, we're gonna give you another couple minutes to write questions. If in the meantime, I'll just chat with Hannah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I curious for your thoughts on how complex Material 3 is. For me, Material 2 was
Yeah.
understandable. Material
Yeah.
3 is to me just bonkers. Like it's got so many features,
It's on
and
steroids.
yeah, it really is. And I have never worked in an organization nor heard of somebody working in an organization where they actually adhered to material design strictly enough to
Mhm.
warrant such complexity. You know, like it was already difficult enough, I found, for designers that, my teams, we tried getting them to incorporate a bit more material design to give a bit of more of an Android aesthetic.
Mhm.
Um, but they never really subscribe that closely. And when you make it even more complicated after they've barely been bought in, I'm just like, I don't know who it's. That's the thing. I've never really been sure who Material 3 is for.
So, okay, my thinking is, and yeah, I can't be quoted on this because I'm a GDE, but my thinking is, so material design tree is something that is forward thinking in terms of we're building for multiple devices in terms of how can it be seamless on Android as well as iOS. So if you're thinking in terms of going Flutter, like Flutter allows you to build for both Android and iOS. So like that's my thinking. I'm thinking that they want it to be in a way that it's like once you go materials design 3, that's it. Like you don't have to do any more modifications because oh now I'm going to an iOS device. I have to change this. That's my thinking. But
Interesting.
yeah. Yeah. If you look at it that way.
Huh.
Because a lot of those implementations you'd find that they're already possible, for example, on iOS devices. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's my
Hmm.
thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's what I was asking for, just your opinion.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like any questions are coming through, but that's okay. A lot sometimes
Yeah.
most of your viewers tend to be after the actual event. So I'm sure questions will
Yeah.
be posted in the future.
And also, I like that because most probably I just hit the beginner level, so it made sense. So yeah, it's good. I appreciate. Yeah. Yeah. And also, I didn't want to take up much time. I think I'm good on time. Yeah, I'm good on
Oh
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you finished at a perfect time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Shalom. I appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, this will be available much later. So I think I'll just keep sharing the link to people.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Sounds
Yeah.
good. Well, thank you so much, Hannah. And I
Mhm.
guess we'll take a pause for a touch under 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Um, can't say real time because so many people are in different time zones that it's meaningless. Um, but yeah, Hannah, thank you so much. I hope to see your speak again, but at the very least, I hope that you feel welcome to evaluate again in the future.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm happy to help where I can. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you, Shalom.
take care. Thank you, Hannah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.